welcome to the 2016 BMW 228i. This is kind of the baby 2 series, and I recently just drove an M235i rear-wheel drive 6-speed manual with the optional rear limited slip diff. Obviously rear, there's no front, it's rear-wheel drive. But this car I actually like better, and I'm going to tell you why. It feels lighter, this engine is potent enough, and let's go for a drive. So this is a ZF 8-speed, correct?
Yes.
You guys know Brendan. He was in the 540 IM Sport as well, so you know him on the channel. But the car makes some fun noises, so let's go make some fun noises.
Yeah.
A couple of downshifts. It's not enough torque to take your breath away, but it's plenty to get you out of the hole. It's a fun car. It's still got that kind of numb feeling in the steering, which, you know, I think it's something that we're gonna see get dialed out in future models, but for now, this is what we've got. This is an xDrive model, and I don't feel a lot of intrusion on the front axle, to be honest with you. Brakes, there's not a huge bite in the beginning, so if I get in them, oh, there we go. They start to get in there way late, but like, I kind of like that because it just means that I don't have like a big scary weight transfer when I touch the brakes. Currently, we're gonna go into sport mode. Hello, puppies and people. These are all seasons?
Yes.
So it's possible that I feel less nervous in this car than the M235i that I drove recently because that was on winter tires and this is on all seasons. All seasons have come a long way, guys. Let's be real. Even the Mark 7 GTI that I drove of Zach's recently is on all seasons, and that car moves. I think my favorite part about the 2 Series is the size. It definitely isn't like this big honkin' 3 Series, because the 3 Series has gotten fat. The car still retains like that original OG BMW feel. We've got a great turning radius despite the xDrive, and these seats are really supportive. So we're gonna go back up the hill and I'm gonna show you. That's an automatic shift. I'm not using the paddles. It's holding my gear in drive in sport mode. Wide open. Side bolsters are fantastic.
And they're actually power adjustable too, so you can...
Yeah, I'm a small guy, so like if this was anyone else, I think you'd hate your life. But I just like the turn-in on this car feels a little sharper than the 235. It might be because of the weight up front. Maybe it's a lighter engine, I think, and it's probably set further back. I'm gonna take it easy because we saw some people and dogs up here, and we want to respect the pedestrians as well as the drive.
And the dogs.
And the dogs, definitely dogs. So everyone kind of takes the 2 Series and they say, oh, it reminds me of the E30. And you know what reminds me most of this car, I know you're flapping around back there. What reminds me most of the E30 in this car is the body roll. And it's not a bad thing. It kind of lets you settle into the corner, and it's not an M car. So we have to remember that we're not sitting there trying to be a race car in this thing. But I like the way it kind of rolls around a little bit. When it settles into a corner, you can feel it just like lean in and hook. And we can kind of give it a little toss and get the rear out a little bit because it's a short wheelbase. I feel like I'm in like a slasher film right now. Like this is like Camp Crystal Lake. Someone's gonna come out and try to slash my throat. But we're classy, we're in the BMW. Actually, that makes us more killable.
Yeah.
Just a couple of virgins cruising in their BMW. BMW has been a brand that I have a love-hate relationship with recently. I've been falling away from them. The last car that I really loved from BMW was my E92 M3. And that was back in 2013 when that was coming off the line. So you know, to have a 2 Series that's still fun to drive is great. The M2 obviously is the winner of the fleet right now of all BMWs. That's what I would take if I had to have a BMW right now. This 228 though is a killer daily driver. It's the right size. The problems I have with the 2 Series is they give you they cheap out on the interior. So I've got this steering wheel, this beautiful, nice shaped steering wheel, but then they give me like Camry realness with with this, like, what is going on here? Why is this not wrapped leather with nice stitching? I mean, it has stitching, but it should be leather wrapped, right? They give me these nice paddles, which are great. It's the same ones that I believe are on my mom's X3. And you know, so it's a weird hodgepodge of nice materials and garbage materials. So it's like the thing that I'm touching the most is the steering wheel. I'm very surprised they didn't give me something nicer. But then, you know, this leather, it's like a leatherette, right?
No, it's the Dakota leather.
Okay, it's Dakota leather. It's reasonable. Like I'm not like, ooh, I'm getting into something exotic, but it's decent. Seats, although they don't look like they're the most supportive things in the world, these are really comfortable. Yeah. And it bothers me that they gave that like really bland rear bench. And doesn't it just look bland? It's like it's the white bread of rear seats. Yes. And that is annoying because it's such a good car and it deserves more. So things that you're gonna look out for. I mean, if you're like a really refined driver and you're always thinking about every detail, the steering would probably get to you a little bit. But to be honest, maybe it's because I'm driving so many of these like electrically assisted cars now that I'm used to what it feels like. It doesn't really bother me. The car's not nervous, it's pretty planted, and I can toss it into a corner with confidence. I didn't feel quite the same way with the M235i, and I'm not trying to pan that car. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, why do you keep talking about that car? But I have to compare it because I think that car has a lot of torque, and sending all that torque to that aggressive diff, it makes it a little more nervous. And because I feel like the front end in that car might not be as planted, might not be as pointed and communicative to the driver, it makes you a little more nervous to get on power. This car, it feels like a much smaller turbo as well, so I get less lag. I feel like this has a more naturally aspirated feel to it. So although it has less power, it's more natural to drive. I really do think that this is the pick of the litter. You know, if you're not gonna be able to afford the M2, because the M2 is not cheap. It's a $50,000 car, and if you option it out, you're probably into the 60s, right? And coming on, I think they're holding value well as well, right? So this car, I think, is the pick. I don't think the M235i gives you enough to justify its price, and I think this engine is better.
It's well suited for this car.
Yeah.
It's a light car, it's small.
So BMW still got it. They're still hanging in there. You know, I know it's a 2-year-old car, but a lot of you guys are looking at CPO cars, and I think if you did a 228 through some RE71Rs or R888s or even just some PS4Ss, whatever, this is a grippy little car and it does a trick. And I don't have this invasive feeling of xDrive. Still a sports car. It still turns in nicely. Yeah. It's the right size. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to respect the drive. We'll see you in the next one. Yes. Yeah.